Good morning and welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 7th of June. So looking at the beginning of the quite an important week ahead, we do have the non-farms. Got carried away there. We've got the ECB meeting on Thursday. It felt like Groundhog Day when I said non-farms for some of you, I'm sure. The reason for the slowness this week then is non-farms. We'll see how things get on leading into that. Now, before I actually go into the technicals here, of course, with the ECB, they're at the same sort of place where the Feds are in terms of they should really be probably tapering. They're probably going to try and avoid talking about tapering, so it's that same old really. And the euro's been sort of holding around where it has for a while because of the potential, and well, we'll see. But it'll be who's first to show their hand really between the two central banks. So let's have a look at the technicals then. There's little out this week. There's nothing out today, tomorrow of any significance, and Wednesday there's very little apart from Canadian. There's the Bank of Canada rate. In fact, that itself could that is one of the first. Let's expect to see some tapering. They've already mentioned the potential, so they're well down the street. So here we go, the street of tapering. Right, technicals then. Euro dollar. Well, we did last week put a lower high in, and it's softened it somewhat. Looking at this 4-hourly at the moment, well, just looking at the pattern and the shape of things at this stage, it looks like, well, we could just see some more downside potentially. That's the way it looks. Just looking, it's slow now. What would draw it to the upside? Well, it's just short of going to its daily pivot here. What would draw it or make it a bit more upside is a break of the trend line there. Now I've drawn the main one on from Friday that was originally sitting across there, but maybe there's a sub trend line sitting down here. But at the moment, picture wise, it does to me look like it's erring a little bit more bearish, probably as traders expect the Euro Central Bank to also dodge the ball regarding tapering. Anyway, looking ahead, looking at the pound then, the pound is much more choppy, it's more difficult to read. It did end up on a good day on Friday, but it's just really a difficult one. Arguably it's just bounced off the monthly pivot there, but it too is sort of heading south at the moment. Yes, it put a lower high in on Friday. Technically it's still looking quite soft, and this hourly picture is put a lower high within this sort of shorter time picture as well. So there's quite a bit of softness looking through these markets at the moment. Difficult one to try and get into at the moment. Here we could get a retrace back to the 8 o'clock pivot. It'd give us an opportunity to get on the short side, but as I say, looking bearish. Aussie dollar, dollar yen. Well, Friday saw a big correction there on the yen, pulling back again, but I think that could be temporary. The main picture here, high lows, high highs. I do expect it to continue its push up there. Now for the long side, maybe a break above the weekly pivot, somewhere above 109.77 ish would probably look a lot better in what we're seeing here. Not quite a divergence as such along these lows, but certainly it looks like it's trying to catch some traction. Now the reason why I say we're looking above that weekly pivot is, well, we've got the daily pivot sitting just around that area as well. It would be wise just seeing if it gets a reaction off that and rolls over, as opposed to trying to get in any earlier. Let's say it's not quite a divergence. We didn't go down into a lower low here, so it's not a proper divergence, but it is suggesting there's strength coming back into this market to the upside at the moment. Aussie dollar, get the Aussie dollar mentioned now. Aussie dollar remains in its horrible state of choppiness, so I'm just going to step away from that at the moment. Canadian dollar. Now the Canadian dollar, I would love to see it rolling back south. I'm still sitting in a short from a couple of weeks. It seems like even more weeks ago now. But looking to see if this rolls back any further. Yes, there's a big divergence across the lows on this daily point of view, excuse me, very choppy. With the Bank of Canada on Wednesday, I don't know if it will last until Wednesday before I get stopped out of the existing position. I've trailed the stop down a little bit tighter, but might just get bitten on that. At the moment, it looks like it's heading for the upside there. So I know the really good trend here might be another opportunity come Wednesday. We'll see what happens with, as I say, with Bank of Canada if it does get stopped out beyond then. If we start seeing a bit of strength this morning, and there is the weekly pivot, yeah, it is the weekly pivot. It's just below there at 120.70. Maybe that would be an early target for the Canadian dollar, and a break of this trend line that I've put across the bottom here. Let's just make this a 4-hourly chart for a moment so you can see the trend line. There's a trend line that sits across the lows there. Maybe a break of that would be a bit more significant, but for now it's looking like, as I say, it's pushing to the upside. Right, that's the Canadian dollar. Let's look further afield. We normally get asked, was it the EuroCAD is John's favourite. Let's just have a look at the EuroCAD then. Has been looking quite weak. It's very slow though. As I say, the Canadian dollar itself has run out of gas against the US dollar, but just coming down the time frames looks quite nice. It's actually run into its weekly pivot there and just having a bit of a reaction off the weekly pivot at the moment, looking choppy but potential. On an intraday basis, maybe a break below the monthly pivot there would be daily pivot on this chart. Daily pivot. A break below 46.90 would just maybe give a bit more confirmation. There is a trend line that would be sitting up there as well, so you could be just looking at either or both. Actually, the trend line would be slightly below there, so that may be just sufficient to kick further downside there. Okay, that's the main currencies and a cross pair that I threw in there because I'm going to get asked the question anyway, so I thought I might as well run into it a bit earlier. The S&Ps came a little bit short of making new highs on Friday, but not far off it, and put in a bullish little pattern there. What into today? Well, we may just see a bit of correction here. We could just see this weekly pivot sitting there at 42.08. That in itself may provide a decent platform for a bit more of a bounce. So just looking at that, there's the daily pivot there as well below at 42.12. So just watching for these. We're just looking at there's a bit of a crack here in terms of watch out, because as it does this, it's going to put lower highs in. So that doesn't mean to say, of course, it'll get a bounce later on, but just be wary. There's a potential here for it to come back to its daily and weekly pivots. Looking soft at the moment, and if it does that, as I said, it will put a lower high in. Just be wary if you're looking in for the long side of things. Okay, that's the S&Ps. Gold. So gold called a bounce on Friday, like everything else, called a bounce on Friday. Eventually, after the news came out, non-farms only 100,000 out or something like that in the end. Not massively, maybe 100,000 out ish. Not quite as bad as some might have expected. Gold has put lower highs in, and it does, just as I'm looking at this at the moment, look erring on the south downside here. Potential again, we've got this sort of line in the sand. You could be drawing a trend line across from the highs there. If you wanted a long side, maybe a break back above that 4-hourly 50 would be more bullish. Where it's sitting at the moment, though, it really is still sitting in bearish land. It's broken other trends on the bigger time frame, so with this move down last week, so I would be very careful with that. Right, that's gold. Oil's been looking strong. This morning it's a little bit softer at the moment, but it's just continued. Even when it's been slow, it's putting higher highs in, higher lows in there, creeping its way up there, and well, it's still got some more potential. Break of the weekly pivot. Well, the weekly pivot itself may provide a decent platform for a bit of a bounce, so I'm not going to get bearish on, or try to get bearish on it too soon. I will look intraday later on to see where it gets back down to these lows, to see if I can look for a buy point, and see if we can get a break back upwards. It is in an upward trend. We should be playing the upward trend where possible. Right, that's pretty much that. Bitcoin had a funny old weekend. I'm just going to have a look at where we are this morning. You see the gap down there. Originally it's filled that gap, but still looks very soft. Let me just come across now. Unfortunately on YouTube you won't be able to see this, but for those that are following it in our trading room, it's right down at the bottom of my triangle that I'd been drawing on the charts there at the lower trend line. It's broken that on Friday. It's put a couple. Friday. That was Saturday. Beg your pardon. Sunday. It's holding its own at the moment, but it does look soft. That's all I'd say. Ethereum, as I said last week, really a break back above 2908 becomes much more bullish for it. Ripple, it has put a higher low in on Ripple, but again 110.72. Again would be a bit more bullish. There we go. That's the crypto side of things, but at the moment I think everything looks a little bit dollar strength running through here now. It might slow up, but I have little reason to see why at the moment. So there we go. I wish you a great day. I will catch you back on in the morning. Bye for now.